Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Postmortem. We're doing our second session of our Forsaken game tonight. We have our entire wonderful group of people you can see down here. To my other direction, I forgot I'm mirrored here. It should be a fun night. Last we left off with our group of werewolves, our Uratha. They were in the shadow pursuing the mutated and amalgam spirit that they had witnessed be ripped out of a child's body after Cyrus had done a banishment right in the real world. That spirit managed to get away from them and the confusion in the crowd by jumping into another body that its essence had touched, aka anybody that was around Cyrus while he was praying and holding a sermon, doing the exorcism right, and they all got blasted by a heat wave. So they all got hit by that spirit. So he jumped into one of those bodies. They tracked down what that was. It went into an old couple, one body of an old couple, and destroyed their home. They went there, killed some corrupted fire spirits. Noticed there's another wound in the shadow there as well. And then they saw footprints in the snow that went to a police car, and the police car is now taking off down the road. They all managed to replenish their essence off the fire spirits that they had destroyed. Still in the shadow, we got totemic embodiment being used on Ethan, who is now being essentially ridden by their totem spirit. Frostwolf. So that's fun. And now they started heading east as they noticed where this car was, heading in the real. All right, so the pack is entirely in the shadow. Now, does anybody still hurt? I think you guys all went to Garu form and healed everything when you guys attacked all the spirits, correct?
Pretty
Correct.
sure, yeah.
I did not. No.
Oh, no, not Cyrus. Cyrus is the only one that didn't.
All right, so you're still sitting on a couple of burns there in that case.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scraggly.
Okay, we've got them chasing after this amalgam spirit that's been causing wounds in the shadow. Now, wounds in the shadow are these grievous injuries to the spiritual world itself that cause a lot of problems. And it's not easy to heal one. You have to do a lot of effort, both in the shadow by getting rid of the corrupted spirits, and in the real world by kind of trying to change the resonance around the wound in the building that, or whatever it is that has the wound in it. So you have to really kind of rewrite the entire spiritual landscape to start to heal those. And if you don't heal them, they can start to fester. They can start to essentially get infected as other spirits get corrupted by them. It causes a huge problem. Right now, our pack, Winter's Rage, has a problem because they have 2 wounds in their territory right now that just happened within the last couple hours. Now they're chasing down the thing that made these wounds by causing these massive fires, and we'll see what's going on here. So let's get you guys to a more appropriate screen for what you're viewing from the shadow here. Now I'm going to fix this. Somebody else. This is essentially what the winner's looking like. Yeah, so the winter that you guys are involved in, it's literally like this. You have a foot of snow at the very least, if not more.
Yay, blizzard.
In a lot of different places. It's been really rough.
So it was just a couple of years ago then. Got it.
Yeah, this is really
so pretty.
Really why a lot of the spirits that are, spirits of cold and of wind and winter are actually getting a lot more powerful right now because of the situation in the real world. The snow's just been utterly terrible, which is why it was hard to get down to the library from you guys' house if it wasn't.
Corey's back.
Yeah, if it wasn't for William's gift. Now, trucking through the shadow, luckily you guys don't have to really deal a lot with that physical drawback of trudging through the snow. As you walk, you will note that the car in the distance, for those that are actually peeking through the gauntlet, which I think was Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Linnea as well peeking. So as you guys are moving, you can see that squad car is driving down the street. The streets themselves are still very hazardous. They're still very dangerous. The snow has piled up, and yes, while there's been a lot of traffic back and forth, it hasn't been enough to really do much to impact the drivability of the streets. Like, it's still slick. It's still rough to handle on the streets. You can't go very quickly, especially you can't stop very quickly or turn. The salt trucks just can't keep up with things. The plows are not able to keep up with the snowfall because it's just constant for the most part. Trudging through the shadow, though, you guys start to get past the edge of your territory and into essentially, I guess we would call it like no man's land of the shadow. Because in this case, you guys patrol in your territory. You keep the spiritual courts and the errant spirits in that territory pretty much on the straight and narrow for what you guys view that is. Now, if that means you're threatening to eat them or other things, that's what you do. Now, when you're outside your territory, spirits don't really recognize your authority at all. So this now becomes an area of like you're walking into the Wild West of the shadow, essentially. As you guys start moving down this snowy path, you can see that a lot of spirits in a lot of the houses, like occasional house spirits that's up, or the occasional, like, I guess, fire spirit from somebody's fireplace that's around, they're struggling. You can sense them, but they're really fighting for their existence, essentially, because the cold is just so powerfully encroaching. All right, so in the real, the squad car is about a block and a half away. It's making its way through the snow. Linnea and Vincent can see that the car itself, as it's driving down the street, seems to be going a little bit faster than you would think to be safe, because occasionally it starts to like fishtail a little bit as it gets towards like a corner, or starts to slow down a little bit, because rear-wheel drive kind of does that. So you'll see it's going a little bit faster than it normally should be going. As you guys are all in which forms here, it could affect your travel times.
Actually, I think we all shifted to the Hispo equivalent, whose name I still don't remember.
Well, that's why it's in your cheat sheet.
I don't have that up.
Form
So that is Urshal.
Urshal.
Ursula.
There we go, yeah.
Yep. That is
The
your
half-wolf.
that is your near wolf. That's your massive direwolf form. That does give you a bit of a advantage when it comes to speed. Now, there's a small problem here. From where you guys are at, you're in the shadow. That spirit is possessing a body in the real world. It's not really in Twilight because it's actually manifested inside of somebody. So there really is no way to reach through the gauntlet to attack him, because you don't have that type of abilities as Uratha. At least nobody does yet with any of their gifts. You also can't just jump back to the real. So
Which creates a bit of a problem.
that's a small problem too. So unless this thing is going to a locus, or you can hunt out a locus nearby, there's really going to be no way for you to get across to the real to attack it unless it comes into the shadow. Now, you haven't gone that far from home. You're like maybe 2 or 3 blocks at this point. So you're just outside the radius of your territory. What do you all want to do? Do you want to continue in the shadow and kind of cross your fingers, or do you want to go into the real?
We're kind of gonna have to, I would think, because
Yeah, because we'd be
if
a
we
bunch of
even
big
if we
fuck
get
off
rid of it in the
wolves.
real, it's just gonna come back here and go somewhere else. We have to get it here at the source.
Actually,
Which, if timing is anything, he's not going to have time to do much before that cop car goes up in smoke.
Jeff, roll me Vincent's occult. We'll do intelligence.
Boom.
Ouch.
Nope, I suck. Wait.
I, however, also have a cult.
Yeah. No, I suck.
Yeah, no, it's official. No. Did you botch is the question, though.
No, he did not. There are no zeros.
All right. There are no ones. All right.
I mean, he's got a straight, but that's not this game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's wrong
that'd be
game. Wrong
the
game.
I also got 2 pair.
Yeah, go with those 2 4s. Still not successes, though. All right. Jesse, go ahead and roll Linnea's.
2, and it's intelligence based?
Yes.
Okay, so 2 and 3, so 5.
This is essentially like a recall. For Linnea, when Vincent starts talking about the fact that we have to end it here, like we will bring him into the shadow, and then take care of him at the source, the origin, that's not going to do it. There's going to be more involved with getting rid of a spirit than just doing that. Like, unless you guys... Something that's gone so far as to become corrupted and amalgamated of a bunch of different spirits, you're going to have to do more than just defeat it in the shadow. You have to find out where its weakest point is, maybe where its point of origin was, what brought it into being, and eliminate that.
I will convey all of that to my pack.
Yes. Didn't we find something close to that out last time? That we needed to track down where it started?
An origin point is going to... Yes, you guys did kind of figure out that an origin point of this thing is probably going to be important to find out. But this is going to clarify it, especially as Linnea kind of realizes as you're talking while you're in the shadow in the first tongue that you need to find what caused this creature to become born, to become what it did become, and why it happened. Because if you just kill it, something this strong, as much of a concept now as it kind of is, it's just going to regenerate over time. It's not like a normal gaffling or a jagling you can just kind of wipe out and then, like, you know, the essence of it's gone. This is a little bit different. This is a more powerful spirit.
So we're going to have to follow it.
Is this a clue? And Ethan will reach into his. It's like, wait a minute. Are we going back to the locust, or are we still in the shadow right now?
Right now, you're still in the shadow.
Okay. Well, he'll shift into his human form. I'll actually pull out a scrap of paper that he pulled out of the corpse's hand in the library. As like, is this a clue? And he'll hand that over. Like, I don't recall what it said on it. It said something about fire.
It says fire touch. Well, it's partially cut off, right? Partially burned. But it's written in the first tongue, so you can definitely make out what looks to be the word fire and then touched. Definitely fire touched or touched by fire. One of the two.
Hey, Ray, would investigation get me a little more information?
This is purely an occult thing.
I have that too.
Right.
I do too.
That's going to be a necessity on this, actually.
So occult int again?
Okay. So for Vincent, as you read the paper, like you're still in your Urshel form, you look it over, and to you, that sounds like a pure tribe. Like one of the pure tribes. For Linnea, yeah, it 100% is. The fire touched are a pure tribe.
She'll actually pick up a paw and kind of like gesture at it. That's a pure tribe.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
The question is it simply aligned with them? Or did they create it?
I don't know.
We're going to have to find out. It showed up in our neck of the woods. Which means we're
Asher,
about to have a bad night.
Didn't you say you cleaned up after a big fire the other night, Asher? Where did that
Yeah.
start?
You mean Ethan?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Asher
like-
was his vagabond.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
It's like, yeah, I did. Local mafia boss asked me to come around and clean up a unfortunate accident.
Well, where was that at? Maybe that's where it started.
Not the same thing. You're pretty sure.
Situation doesn't seem the same. Like, all of these other ones were kind of like spontaneous happenings. No, somebody made this happen.
Yeah, and that was in Little Village, just so
Yeah.
you're aware as Ethan. Nowhere near this area. But there have been fires, if you guys recall, like when we talked about last time, there's been fires starting throughout the city. Some of it has been, it's actually all of it's been kind of said to be like people are not using their space heaters properly, or, you know, it's malfunctions in the wiring because the cold's so intense and people are running their heat all the time. So it's becoming a bit of an issue that's been kind of, by the moral society, it's been kind of just tossed off. Like, yeah, you know, humans are like, we expect this to happen because of all the space heater issues and some of the old buildings that may have bad wiring, and it's just being put under strain by the harshness of the winter. They're thinking it's not a big deal. These last two ones, especially by your place, totally different. These are clearly levels where somebody got immolated and just literally exploded with fire, much like the child.
Human combustion.
Yeah. Now, for Vincent and Linnea, if you recall, when you guys were in the shadow and confronted that spirit, it hissed at you about awakening something.
Yeah. And I thought I had told everyone about that, but if I didn't, I tell them now.
Fair enough.
Awakening something.
Yeah. It's said something along the lines of, you know, wants to wake him or it up. That was before.
I remember that now.
Yeah, before Vincent bit the damn thing or swatted it with a paw. You guys are all in the shadow, and I know Nate, while you were out, we got a little bit of conversation going on there. Essentially, what it came down to is they remembered that the spirit said something about wanting to wake something up while before they attacked it last time. And then they kind of put two and two together that apparently the fire touched could very well be referencing a pure tribe, which are the other werewolves that are kind of hunt you guys down. They don't like you at all. They are definitely not allied, and they don't pay any homage to Luna either. So that's an issue. So
So,
So they're a bunch of shady fuckheads.
they are.
quick question.
Yes.
Being, wolves and all that,
Mm-hmm.
are we aware of other people's territory? Like, when we cross into it, do we know?
So it depends on how they mark it, right? So some Uratha mark their territory like gang signs, kind of representing their pack. Other Uratha will actually mark it traditionally, and they'll pee on like trees at the borders. So you kind of, because you pick it up, your senses, even when you're human, are still heightened above the normal human senses. So you kind of start to pick up that smell. And you're like, okay, well, I may be approaching. But other than that, if they don't put markers out, there's no way for you to know. Like, you'll just wander right into it. And the shadow that can sometimes be detected by the spirits behaving in different ways in a territory. Like, for example, the park that's across from you guys' house, that's just right on the edge of your territory, you guys now have a court there of spirits that are afraid of you. So they'll likely be a bit cowing.
Because we told them we were going to eat them.
There's no
There was
weed.
no
No,
weed of it.
There's no
You
weed. You
that.
said
We're going to eat
that.
them.
Do not put this on me, motherfucker.
You said you were
Although
gonna
I
eat
do
them.
have
If
to
they don't,
admit,
if they don't step in line, they're fucking fodder. That's all I'm saying.
I do have to admit that we all backed up what he said by eating the ones in the apartment building.
That is true.
That's true.
That is true.
We,
Even-
I kept true on my
needed the
promise.
essence, okay?
Speaking of Russ, being the one who's more about stealth and being a little more of a
Stealth murder guy.
stealth murder guy, nice. And the Araka that you are, you'll notice that as you guys are moving through the shadow as you're talking, you'll notice that as the cloud cover starts to change where you're at, and a little bit more of the sun starts to hit through, the areas that the sun strikes in the shadow have like a heavier presence in the spiritual realm. Now, for some of the Uratha who have not been more experienced in the shadow, who have not traveled there a lot, like I can see Cyrus, it's not really like one of his bags. Ethan, most certainly. This is kind of a new
I've been
thing.
at Roll for 2 months.
Yeah, as you start approaching where the beams of sunlight are coming down from where the clouds have parted in the sky, the heat's the first you notice. It's much warmer. It's kind of chilly in the shadow because of all the spirits that are flying around you, doing their job and bringing cold to pretty much the street you're on. But when you get near the sunlight, it gets warmer. But then it's almost like it has a gravity pull. Like you start to move more sluggishly, more slowly as you get closer to the light, where the light actually shines down on patches of the shadow. When you're in the shade, away from it, it seems to be moving just fine. There's no issues, no hold up while you're walking around, no spiritual, slowing. But when you hit the sunlight, it's like a gravity well you're walking into. Now, for anybody with an occult 3 or better,
Hi.
Yep.
this is what Helios does to the shadow. He brings stasis and firmament and solidarity when he passes over the shadow. So the shadow during the day, when Helios is high in the sky and there are no clouds in the area, spirits find it hard to move. They find it hard to get around, especially people like you, the Aratha, who come in and start moving around in a physical body. It like locks you down. It's like being stuck in like a gravity well. You start moving a lot more sluggishly. You start having trouble doing simple things, and it's also harder to cross into the shadow in the daytime. At nighttime, much easier. Luna's out in full. The Warden God is moving across the sky. You guys, it's your time to hunt. And that's where you're moving very freely throughout the shadow. But when the sun's out, things change. Now,
I'll relay that to everybody. Stay away from the sun.
Sounds bad, okay?
yeah, it is.
Hide from Ra, the sun god.
Luckily, though, a lot of the cloud cover's still there, so it's not really going to slow you up a little bit. It may take, if we're talking mechanics, you'll go like 1 yard slower every turn because you're trying to avoid where the light's coming down, because it kind of slows you down. You have to step around it. But you can still, see the vehicle. Like, it's not going to slow you down to where you're going to lose track of this thing. It's just going to create an obstacle. That's the only problem. And unfortunately, this is not a weather obstacle that William can fix with his gift. This is purely a natural obstacle within the shadow itself.
I'm curious as to how that works with the spirit and the body.
It's in the body.
It doesn't mean Linnea knows then. I'm still watching it, so if it starts slowing down, it's like, oh,
Fair enough.
uh-huh.
Yeah, no, it's not. But you will see that car is
Damn.
starting to try to move more and more quickly.
I don't do magic, Morty. I do
Can I
science.
see
One takes brains, the other takes dark eyeliner.
Can I see over and see the spirit?
So when you peer past the gauntlet, it only takes a moment's focus. Like you can actually still do this while you're moving, because your senses are just attuned to that as Uratha. So when you peer past the gauntlet and see the car, he's like a good block ahead of you, so you can only see like the back of his head through the back windshield. The spirit itself isn't manifesting anything right now. It just seems to be riding the body.
The reason I ask is because I have Nil de Prey. And I need to it can be used on any character present whom the Uratha can perceive.
You can see him.
Okay.
You can perceive him.
Yep, you definitely can.
I'm going to take one from the pool.
Okay, so we're taking one of those bonus dice.
So
And I needed it.
I'm sorry.
All right, so what do we got there? All right, so for all of us here, what does that gift do once it's activated successfully?
The Uratha immediately knows every name the prey is known by, as long as someone else other than the prey knows it. He also knows any alternate identity or fame merits the target possesses. In addition, becomes aware of every alias, contact, retainer, resources, status merit the target possesses with equal or fewer dots than successes rolled.
All right, so you get the name the Seven Conflagrations,
Okay.
and that's really it. There are no allies attached to it. It is just they were seven spirits that were allied together that just got merged into one, essentially. They came together to do this one thing. However that fucking happened, God only fucking knows, but it's a weird thing. It is does have a spirit rank. Hold on.
84.
We'd all be fucked.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is a rank 3 spirit.
Oh, so it has the same rank as me when I pop my gift.
Right, but it actually has that rank. You don't. Like you assume that rank, but it actually has that rank. So there's a different disparity in trouble and like power a little bit there. But Nate, you were going to ask a question.
Yeah, we can actually perceive the spirit from where we're at, correct?
You in the shadow you can't, because it's pretty much I can talk. It's kind of folded itself into a human body, like when it possessed him. You can see the wake of it moving, but you can't perceive the spirit itself. You can just see its host in the real world.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Sounds like a good thing. But it's trying to get away in a car, right?
Yeah, it's been possessing a police officer, and it's driving a squad car. It's been heading east. You guys followed it for about a block and a half, 2 blocks outside your territory now. It's like a block ahead of you. It can't go very quickly because of the snow, but you guys are staying just a little bit behind it right now because of the sunlight that's coming down and creating that issue in the shadow.
Okay.
Hey, I can use. It's like, can I use our totems? Any of our totems' powers?
Gifts?
Yes, you have access to all of its abilities. So what you have, one, you have that frost armor that's over you. It has the armor, dread power, or thing that it has. Let's see what else it has. A Numina is what they're called. So you can also, let me find your totem. You have a pool of 15 essence, because you get the totem's essence on top of your own. You have Frost Blast, which is kind of like a blast Numina, where it does a number of damage. You have to spend 2 essence for every 1 dice of damage base that it does, but then you roll the spirit's power, because that's 8 dice, or power and finesse, essentially. You roll those together for your to hit roll, and that's how you hit somebody with that. And that costs 2 essence per 1 damage you want to do, but that's ice-based, it's frost-based. Then you have the Bite of the Winter Wolf, so whenever you bite something, when you're in your Ushal form, or in your normal wolf form, you can spend 1 essence and add +4 to your damage as you freeze whatever it is that you bite.
Okay.
And then you also have access to its influences. So it has an influence of 2 for cold. So you can minorly affect anything that's kind of related to the cold. So you could freeze water, or cause a gust of cold wind to like blow a door closed. It's minor stuff, like a level 2 or so in a discipline, like minor adjustments. Nothing that's raw creation yet. That'd be like a level 3 influence.
Okay.
So you're doing like more minor manipulation of cold based effects with the influence. Numina.
So how close do I have to be to use that?
To do stuff like that, I would probably say line of sight. So technically, yes, you could use that on the vehicle from where you're at.
Okay, I'd like to freeze his gas lines.
That's my boy.
Ray,
Yes.
just so you're aware, I'll use my what is that gift? It's like flesh of silver or something like that.
You're
Give me a second.
Quicksilver flesh, my man.
Quicksilver flesh.
okay.
To basically get my armor, and I'm gonna put my what the fuck is it called? Shadow Thunder mask on.
Okay, so while you're in Urshul, you're like, I have a human arm. Bah, mask.
You got it. And I would be applying the fetish and then continuing the movement.
That's fucked up. Just want to let you know that.
Yeah.
So the mask, as an actual fetish, will mold to your wolf face in Urshul once you put it on, and then you'll unfreakishly transform your arm
Right.
back into a paw. Corey, I need you to go ahead and roll. It's going to be again. Well, it's just going to be the power of the spirit. So the power of the totem. So 4 dice plus the 2 for the influence. So you're going to be rolling a total of 6 dice.
Okay.
Now you
Do you
can't.
just want me to just roll those straight?
Yeah, just roll them straight. Now you can't see the line, so I'm going to take away 1 dice for difficulty.
Okay, so I'm sorry. How many did I have? You had 4 plus what?
Plus 2. So it's
Plus
the
2?
spirits.
Okay.
Yeah, the spirit's power, which is 4, plus the influence Numina, which is a 2. So we'd be rolling 6
Okay.
dice in total, but we're taking
Okay,
1
and you
away.
said take away 1.
Yep.
Okay.
Because you can't see. Yes,
so
sir.
in like I had no idea he was going to do what he is doing, but
Right.
I was going to attempt to use garble on the car to stop it. Would doing that be like a way of assisting him?
What does Garble do?
It's modern technology is supposed to help, not to hinder. But,
That's right. It's an Iron
this-
Master's gift.
yeah, you turn it against the user, a frightening experience for those who rely on humankind's ingenuity. Blah 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 blah. This facet can be used against a character whom the Uratha can perceive, and if successful, the technology turns against the victim to the benefit of the Uratha.
Yeah, you can definitely use that on the vehicle. This is a good one. Why don't? Because they're 2 separate actions. You're doing essentially 2 completely different things. Now, that's a good. Why don't you roll for the Garble gift, and we'll add the successes to whatever Ethan gets on his influence roll.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, it will boost.
Are there any modifiers?
No,
Wow.
not for you.
Wow.
That's 5
Oh.
successes.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Did they reroll?
Okay.
No,
Oh, they did not reroll.
No, you don't. I don't think you need to at this point, champ. So
I didn't
Garble.
get anything.
I mean, it's
anyways.
already an overwhelming success, right?
Yeah, Garble. Ooh, did not go off. All right. So, however, here's the fun part. You focus your energy, you release your gift, and then all of a sudden the car starts to sputter. You hear that engine just clunk, 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 and just slides to a stop, like halfway down the next street.
Shit, must have worked.
It must have.
Praise Jesus.
Now, for those that are peering past the gauntlet and do this, which basically everybody here, for the most part right now, will see that the gas tank, like that, the panel that closes over the fuel intake, is completely frosted
door?
over. Yeah, the door is popped open and frosted over.
What's up, buddy?
As you guys are basically making your way towards there, you can see the door open from the driver's side, and the cop gets out. His skin looks like really badly sunburned. Like, we're talking somebody went to Texas or Arizona and didn't put on sunscreen and never been there before, and they're just like bright red, like 2nd-degree burns. It looks at the tank, and you see it kind of ball its fist and pull back, and the air shimmers around it like it's incredibly hot, like a heat mirage. But then it looks at the gas tank, seems to kind of like its head kind of ticks, like it realizes something, and then it stops. It doesn't do that because it doesn't want to blow its car up.
Good call, Spirit.
A wise choice.
Fucking
Nice,
schmuck
more
over here.
fire.
But it does turn back and look in the direction you guys are at. It doesn't seem to see you because when its gaze kind of sweeps in your direction where you guys are at on the sidewalk, it goes right past you. Like it's not perceiving the shadow right now. It will then start to run on foot and start trudging through the snow. Now you will see as it starts running, the snow around it is melting as it's moving. It's just that hot.
Are we, since it's moving now and it's moving in the real world, are we able to potentially catch up and almost like flank it in essence so we can follow wherever it's going? It can't perceive us, but we can perceive it. So.
Yeah, you certainly
And we
can.
can't jump out.
Right,
So
no.
the easiest way to follow.
So now you guys will definitely start catching up at this point. The vehicle's been disabled. You guys are making your way down. You still have to dodge the occasional shaft of sunlight that's causing issues in the shadow. But as you make your way around and go to like the next block as you're following this thing through. It did.
Something changed behind it.
Yeah. Whoops. Swap that one. Shh, this didn't happen, chat. There we go. So now you guys will round the next block with this thing essentially. And is that too bright for you, Jess?
No, I'm raising my hand.
Yes.
We're on a city street, right?
In the shadow, yes.
If you can find it.
Legally,
Yeah, if you can find it.
they are supposed to have fire hydrants, correct?
Right. But you guys are in the shadow.
That's fine. There should still be water spirits hanging out around those fire hydrants, in theory.
Yeah, but they're being harried by a lot of frost and cold spirits. So they're moving sluggishly.
Would it be possible to talk them into, I don't know, bursting of water main or a fire hydrant in front of this thing? Or maybe onto it?
That is a possibility. You can definitely, guys stop and try to do that. Like, hey, listen.
I'll let them
You
go
do
ahead
this
of me
thing.
and I'll do it myself and be like, hey
Well,
guys,
I'll sit back and assist.
you want to have some fun? Let's burst this main. Spray it right on that guy. It'll be funny. It'll be hilarious. You'll love it.
So Linnea and Vincent are staying back by a small gathering. Like maybe one or two water spirits are getting like harried by these ice spirits and these cold spirits. Do the rest of you guys keep following after the spirit? Because you can see in the real, those are viewing past the gauntlet into the real world. He's running like down the street and trying to go like he's starting to cross over to your side of the street, like he's going to take a left at the next intersection. You can keep on following him, but these two are staying back right now to be like, hey, listen, get this thing and pop one of those hydrants to kind of take care of this guy or hit him with it.
I'm not going to like full on chase him down, but I'm at least going to stay in a position where I can keep him in line of sight.
Come on, Campbell.
Russ,
Let's fucking
Russ
run him
was
down.
Russ was raising his hand. Russ, just speak up, brother. Speak
I
up.
have
We got you.
a merit called Nowhere to Run.
For those in chat, what does this wonderful merit do, Russ?
Any hunter in darkness can track prey. Your character, however, has an instinctive awareness of his prey and the places his prey considers safe. Using subtle clues about his prey like smells, fibers, and tracks, you can identify where his prey hides and recuperates.
That
So,
shit is baller.
Russ, it looks to you like watching the way he's fleeing, and when you turn your woven eyes towards the tracks he's leaving and the way he's running, like in a hurry, he's going to some area where he knows he can get essence. Now, in the past, you guys saw when he did these eruptions, it kind of healed him a little bit. So either he's going to start another fire to be safe inside the fire, because that's what that spirit is, right? Or he's going home. Definitely one of those two. The way he's running, it's one of those two. He's not panicked yet, the way he's moving, but there's definitely some urgency in the steps and the way that they're being taken.
And I relay that as I'm going to follow.
So Vincent
Deal
and
with
Linnea, you guys hear Robert kind of shout out in the first tongue to the rest of the pack that he's got an idea of where this guy's going. and starts trailing after the fleeing officer.
Let's slow him up.
Now you two stay back by this hydrant,
Yes.
and you're trying to convince these spirits to do this. The water spirits are just bubbling and kind of flowing around that gathering point of where you can see the joints are under the junctions are for the water pipes underneath the ground. So it's a little bit below you, but is it really? I mean, it's the shadow. You know, is it really below you? It's just metaphysically in the same spot, but just a little bit off of your coordinates. As you're saying this, the spirit essentially tells you, get rid of the frost spirits, and it will.
I will.
Actually get rid of them, can we?
You can
I
eat
will
them
yip at the frost spirits
or scare them off.
and
I'd say
scare them
drop
away.
predators.
Like-
flame.
I was actually. Yeah.
Ethan's like, I was gonna, and then she's like, bah. So the moats and gafflings, there's like maybe
Spirit
3 of them, just harrying this one, water spirit. They rush off. When you pop that aura, it's all of a sudden a member of a spiritual court has arrived to give them a what for, and they just tear off. They flee across the street. You see them flow. They dodge around a couple of beams of light that are coming in from the cloud cover and make it to the other side, and they just pull around like a tree in the shadow and are just watching you. This water spirit bubbles a thank you, and you see it surge down through the piping and rush through the street. As you do that, you'll notice you're watching it with your eyes, follow the flow of the water underneath the shadow ground, essentially. And Cyrus will notice that as he's walking, there's a bunch of small spiders around a house
Okay.
in the shadow. A little unusual.
What is the significance of these spiders?
It's not something you usually see or would think to see. A lot of the spirits and other things in the ephemeral that you're seeing are like more symbolic manifestations. Like water looks like a bubbling little pool, or there's a flowing bit of water that's just rolling around. The wind spirits are just gushes of like pseudo outlined animated wind. This is different. This actually is it looks like a spider. They're just a little larger than normal, like about the size of your fist,
Okay.
And there's about a half dozen to a dozen of them crawling around like a bottom window of a house nearby.
Okay.
And you hear a weird chittering sound from inside.
Okay. Is there a way that I can try to get to that place and take a look inside?
Yeah. So you can just easily walk. It's on the side of the street here. Let me move you over so you see the type of building you're seeing here. Now, this building in the shadow is a little more roughly outlined. It's a little more solid than most of the buildings around you. A lot of the times the buildings in shadow are kind of translucent, if they're even there at all, because they're still getting enough resonance from the occupants to actually have a solid presence in the shadow. This building has one, but it looks a little off. The library had one too. We guys saw it. And your house in the shadow has one because it's a locust there. You guys live there. It has a lot of resonance for you, so it's kind of solid in the shadow. This building seems like it's translucent and something has artificially reinforced its presence. Looks like a normal 2-story Chicago building.
I actually know that building.
There's a lot like it in Chicago.
Yeah.
But
There are many like it.
you basically come a little bit further down the sidewalk.
But this
and
one is ours.
There are many like it, but this one is mine. And make your way over to that building. You can see these spiders when you draw near, they skitter and just kind of rush along this like crack in the window on the basement apartment, essentially the garden apartment area, and they just start to kind of pull through. They're all on the wall around it, and they start to do like 2 or 3 or 4 at a time, just go inside.
Okay. I'm going to try to follow him inside, see what's in there.
The window itself in the shadow, it's not very reinforced. Like you could break the spiritual essence of it. It's not an issue whatsoever. If Cyrus wants to kind of either like elbow it open or hammer at it to make it big enough for you to get in, because right now it's only about the size of like a watermelon.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that my coat is covering my elbow, and I'll give it a nice smash.
All right. So you break the window with like 1 or 2 strikes, not that difficult at all, and you start to see this weird, a small amount of light is kind of falling into the window. So it allows you to see like this floor of this basement garden apartment. It's just covered in hundreds, if not thousands of these spiders. Some are a bit larger than the others. Like there's like one or two that's about the size of your head. They're all black, very large, almost like tarantula type spiders, just super naturally large. On top of that, along the walls and the inside of the garden apartment, you see a lot of webbing that's translucent. It's giving off a little bit of a shine and what light there is in the shadow that's coming through the window.
Okay.
And you hear this like soft grunting bit of movement from deeper inside the apartment that you can't quite see. It's like you're looking into like that first window in like a living room of a garden apartment. And there are couches here and there, but it's spiders everywhere as you can see.
Yeah, I don't know anything about damn spiders, so I'll just give a shout. There's a bunch of spiders in this house here. Does anybody know why there would be a bunch of spiders here?
Linnea, I want to go ahead and roll your occult since you're
Sure, why
back
not?
Now Cyrus
Yeah,
can.
I know about the dead spirits.
I was going to
That's
ask,
fine.
could I like
Yeah,
roll my
I
occult?
was about to say because this is your thing too. You're also an Ithir,
Right.
So you can go ahead and roll your occult as well. And basically,
I'm not an Aether. I'm an Aeladon.
Well, Jeff just talked, so I was like registering the two as one. It'd be wits probably for this because you're on the
Okay.
fly now, right now.
Wits. Yeah,
No, the
right.
wits are the same goddamn thing for me, so.
I got two of them.
All right, so between the two of you shouting some stuff back and forth, and then with Vincent going, "I know the dead spirits." They're not really dead spirits. You remember a story of Father Wolf and the Spider Hag, and her get were constantly an issue for Father Wolf when he was trying to patrol the spirit realms and the physical realms to keep them separate. And the spiders were a huge issue for him because they sought to thicken the barrier between the worlds. Even when there wasn't one, they were trying to make it harder for one part to cross over to the other, and that wasn't the way it was supposed to be. Since Father Wolf's passing, since he was killed by the Forsaken, these spiders occasionally pop up now and again in certain territories, and what they do is they try to essentially crystallize the gauntlet so that nothing can pass back and forth. They're a problem because not only do they mess with the spiritual barrier between the shadow and the real world, but they also tend to possess humans entirely.
Okay.
And
Do they belong here?
they do
like-
not belong at all. You guys tend to usually kill them wherever you find them.
Okay. But it's just like a bunch of small ones, basically, right?
It looks like it. I mean, small is subjective. I mean, size your fist and size your head, those are kind of big.
Okay. But there's not like a giant, massive spider somewhere, like
No,
looming.
Not that you see.
not that you
No,
see.
no.
but what-
They just hatched.
Yeah, but whatever made that web in there was probably pretty freaking big. Some of the strands are about as thick as your fingers, and that's way too big for these small spiders to make.
Well, I'm very curious. I'm going to follow the strands and see if I can take them to a logical end.
So Cyrus saw some spiders around the house, decided to investigate. We'll see how that ends up for them. It's not necessarily a good thing, especially for those who are familiar with Forsaken and the spider hosts. He may be wandering upon something that would best be left alone until they're prepared for it. But we'll see what happens.